Friends, if you compare the history of our national struggle with histories of similar struggles in other parts of the world, you will realize that we in India have lacked one thing and one thing alone. We lack the strength and organization whereby we can meet force with force. I am confident that with the help of my countrymen in East Asia, I shall be able to organize such a gigantic force as will be able to sweep away the British power from India. The hour has struck, and every patriotic Indian must advance towards the field of battle. Only when the blood of freedom-loving Indians begins to flow will India attain her freedom. Inqilab Zindabad.
Still, family legacy dominates Indian politics. Did you ever thought of starting a new journey in Indian politics as Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose's daughter?
Hard to say. Well, when I was young, originally, after my first visit to India, I was quite tempted to go and live in India, and I was quite taken in by the fact. I don't know whether I would have been drawn into politics if I had lived there. You see, it's a very two-edged sword. On the one hand, if you get drawn into politics because of a sort of dynastic kind of thing, I consider it rather negatively, because I feel that people should go into any field on basis of merit, and it's not always, just as in a monarchy, it's not always the children of monarchs who are the best and most capable people for that. On the other hand, I think if you look at the medial aspect of politics, it's very important to get attention. Maybe that's almost more important than being very capable, because you can't bring it across otherwise. And of course, a person who enters politics with that background brings another kind of potential. And I can appreciate that you get pressured into a situation saying, well, you sort of owe that to your party, to your country, and so on. I think it's an advantage and a disadvantage to a person, because ultimately you have to give up a lot of yourself and be willing to just be the instrument ultimately of something else. And I don't think I would have liked to do that very much. You may consider that selfish in one way, but given my personality, I think it would have been a logical thing. And my mother, I think, had a part in that insofar that she always used to tell me that your father was a great man, but that doesn't make you a great anything or the other. If anything, it gives you an obligation and not something to sort of keep your nose turned up about and to look down on others, maybe. So sort of being my own person was always important to me, and I think my mother's also ingrained that in me.
আমি ওকে নিয়ে দক্ষিণেশ্বরে যাই, ও এলে একবার কালী মন্দিরে যাই। তার কারণ ওর বাবা মানে নেতাজি সুভাষচন্দ্রের দক্ষিণেশ্বরের এই কালী মন্দিরের প্রতি একটা অসম্ভব টান ছিল। সেটা আমি আমার স্বামী শিশির কুমার বসুর কাছে শুনেছি, কারণ ওর এখান থেকে যখন এই মহানিষ্ক্রমণ হয় তার আগে শিশিরকে এবং আমার আরেক ননদকে পাঠিয়েছিলেন ওখানে পুজো দিতে, ফুল টুল নিয়ে গিয়েছিলেন যাবার আগে। তো সেই জন্যে অনিতাকে নিয়ে আমি যাই। ও যখন আসে তখনও তো মাথায় কাপড় দিয়ে আমার সঙ্গে মাটিতে বসে সেই গর্ভগৃহে বসে আমরা যখন পুজোর মন্ত্র শোনে মনে হয় যেন চিরদিন এইরকমই শুনছে। তাই ওর ভেতরে একটা রয়েছে, মানে ভারতীয় যে ভাবটা রয়েছে সেটা সত্যিই দেখবার মতন। তবে এইটার জন্যে কিন্তু আমি মনে করি আমাদের কাকিমা এমিলি হচ্ছেন দায়ী। কারণ অনিতা তো ওর বাবাকে দেখেনি, খুবই 2 মাসের শিশু ছিল যখন উনি চলে গেছেন। ও তো মার কাছে শুনতে শুনতেই বড় হয়েছে ওর কথা, আর উনিই শিখিয়েছেন ওকে ভারতবর্ষে কি এখানকার সংস্কৃতি কীরকম, কীভাবে চলাফেরা করতে হয়, কীভাবে কথা বলতে হয়। তো মার কাছে শুনতে শুনতেই ও এই ভারতীয় ধারাটা, ভারতীয় সংস্কৃতিটা ও কাকিমার কাছ থেকেই, ওর মার কাছ থেকেই শিখেছে মনে হয়।
And now the most controversial question of independent India. How do you think your father died?
Very difficult to say. The most likely thing is that he died in the plane crash, because there were eyewitnesses who witnessed that. And if you consider that the plane crash took place on the 18th of August, or for those who don't believe in the plane crash, if it's supposed to have taken place on the 18th of August, that was the 1945. That was the end of World War II. Japan had capitulated already, which was a national trauma. The Japanese were getting out of what is now Taiwan, then Formosa, and everything must have been in total upheaval. People getting out, things being brought out, things being destroyed, and so on. So you can't expect a well-documented situation like you would in normal peace times. So it's quite natural that some of the documents would not be there. The present government is not the government that was there at the time. It's very difficult to have a watertight documentation of that. So from all what I have followed, it seems the most likely thing to me. I was also present in some of the interviews of eyewitnesses many years ago. Professor Gordon, one of the biographers of my father, was in Japan at the same time as my husband and I were there. And he had some interviews set up, and he said, if you want to come along, come along. And so I had the chance to listen to some of those. The commissions, there were 3 commissions. 2 came to the conclusion that he died in a plane crash. 1 came to the conclusion that he did not. And I read the last report quite carefully, and the others too, but I mean, that's long ago. And in my opinion, the outcome was that he was in Formosa, now Taiwan, on that day, but there is no written documentary proof of the